Well, we finally got him back off injured reserve. Jimmy Toots Holmes with Toots' Tips, and good to see you feeling better, man. You don't look no better.
Well, there's something that's not going to change. Probably the looks is one of them. I've been a little under the weather here for the last couple of weeks, and I'm not back to where I want to be, but I'm getting there.
Well, the Toots' Tips back for another season, brought to you by the Huddle House Restaurant.
Yep, that's a good place to eat, too. Every Wednesday, if y'all want to enjoy a good meal and some good fellowship and a bunch of bull, y'all drop by and see us, because every Wednesday morning about 8 o'clock, we eat there right before we go hit that little white ball. But great place to eat. The atmosphere is fantastic, smoke-free. Just a good place to go to eat and meet a bunch of people.
All right, the Huddle House, always open, always fresh. We began this morning on a sad note. You and I both lost a longtime friend, Beatty Black, a couple of days ago.
A very dear friend. Been knowing Beatty, good gracious alive, Jim, probably a good 60 years. In high school, we were almost inseparable. Played ball with him through Little League, through Babe Ruth, through high school, American Legion, independent baseball. Then, of course, in high school, we were on the same football team, same graduating class. He'd always call me on my birthday. I'm 13 days older than he, and he would always call me and tell me, I won't even tell you exactly what he called me, but it was old is one word. But then I'd call him and tell me, I said, well, you've caught me. He said, no, old man, I won't ever catch you. So, but again, a dear friend, just like a brother I never had. He'll be sorely missed. And, you know, he was a volunteer coach over at B.B. Comer for probably 25 years and put a lot of heart and soul into it back during the Bobby Overton era. But again, a great friend. Bless his heart, he really fought hard, but he will be sorely missed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Beatty Black, he certainly will be missed. Let's get to Toots' Tips this morning, and 3 games last night: Tennessee and Appalachian State, Louisville and Charlotte, and then Vandy and South Carolina.
Yeah, that's 3. Matter of fact, I got all 3 of those right. By the way.
Well, we'll see how it works this morning. Of course, Tennessee beat Appalachian State in overtime. Louisville all over Charlotte, and South Carolina comes from behind to beat Vandy last night. A lot of people think this is the biggest matchup weekend in many, many years of college football.
For the opening start of the season, Jim, it is. You know, first, you got a University of Alabama traveling over to Dallas, Texas, to take on the Trojans from Southern California. The number 1, number 20. Everybody thinks USC is going to be mighty strong this year. And if they're going to stay with Alabama, they better be. All
right, we'll get to that in just a minute. But let's start first tonight. Friday night matchup, Kansas State against number 8 Stanford.
Well, Stanford Cardinals, you know, they always do pretty well. They rank number 8th in the country, and I look for the Wildcats to sort of bite the bullet tonight.
All right, you know, Stanford's got that McCaffrey guy who does everything, doesn't he? So Toots' Tips, you take Stanford. Tomorrow in a game that maybe not a whole lot of people are paying attention to other than Mississippi State and South Alabama, but South Alabama and Joey Jones travels over to Starkville.
Well, you know, Dan Mullins, you don't ever know about him. You see his interviews on TV and he carries on. He hadn't got this, hadn't got that. But Mississippi State's got a pretty good football team. And, of course, Joey Jones has done an outstanding job with the Jaguars down at South Alabama. I just don't think they're ready to step up to the SEC.
All right. Mississippi State over South Alabama, Missouri, and West Virginia in Morgantown tomorrow.
Yeah, this could be a Donnybrook. You know, you go into West Virginia and play them, and Morgantown especially. They're pretty bad in Morgantown. I don't know if he'd call it an upset or not, but I'm gonna go with the Mountaineers at home.
All right. One of the bigger games tomorrow, intersectional matchup, number 16 UCLA goes to Kyle Field in College Station to take on Texas A&M.
Well, you know, the coach, there's several coaches they say now may be on the hot seat. That's one of them. He lost a lot of players. A lot of players left him. But again, Texas A&M, they got the 12th man deal, and They always play pretty tough at home, but I think the Bruins will prevail at College Station.
Wow. All right. Take UCLA over Texas A&M. Toots' Tips this morning brought to you by the Huddle House. A huge matchup at Lambeau Field tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wisconsin and LSU.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you know, they go by the Badgers, and that's not a very big little creature. And they're going to play these big old Tigers. Need I say more? LSU.
We shall see. LSU, and you know, LSU's coach Les Miles, he was almost canned at the end of the year last year, and
that's one thing I don't understand. Like all the guy does is win. You know, he's got 10 wins, and always plays in a bowl game. But I don't know. I think what the problem is, or the fan base is, they don't beat Alabama.
Yeah. LSU over Wisconsin. That's at Lambeau Field, home of the Packers tomorrow. Georgia with a new coach, ranked number 18 in the nation. He's not a new name to anybody, though. And they take on the University of North Carolina at the Georgia Dome.
Well, you know, these two coaches, the defensive coordinator, Gene Chizik, is at North Carolina. Of course, Kirby Smart, the new head coach at Georgia. This may be a Donnybrook. I'm just telling you, North Carolina's got a pretty good football team. You just wonder, this is a step forward for Kirby Smart. He's always been a great defensive coordinator, especially at Alabama. You know, he's a Georgia graduate. Gene Chizik has played his type of football, and of course, Kirby Smart's type of defense, Gene Chizik knows all about it. So, again, playing in Atlanta, it's a Georgia Dome. I don't know if it'll be a Miles upset or not, but I think I'm looking for number 22 North Carolina Tar Heels to upset the Georgia Bulldogs.
You know, the Bulldogs have got this Chubb kid.
Yeah, he's back
hurt
off of an injury, big serious knee injury that put him out. I think he played about 4 games last year.
Yeah,
and then he got his knee messed up. You always wonder, Jim, is this going to be a positive or a negative? You know, when you first. I know practice is one good thing, but when you get into serious competition, it's always quicker, faster than what you do at practice, and you just wonder how many licks can this kid take now.
Yeah. Well, taking North Carolina?
I am taking North Carolina.
All right. Alabama, ranked number 1 in the nation, the defending national champion, takes on number 20 USC, and Alabama seems to always open the season with a marquee intersectional game, and you know, both these teams have rich football tradition.
Yes, they do, and of course, you know, Alabama, they rank number 1 for a reason. Defensively, their defense will keep them in any football game they play in. They got to find a trigger man. Bateman, I think, will be your starter. USC, again, the high hopes on the Trojans, and they got a pretty good football team, but I just don't think they can stay on the field with the University of Alabama.
Until somebody beats Alabama, they'll remain number 1.
They should. That's the way it should be. You know, they won the right to be number 1. They got a good football team. They got untested running backs. You know, Alabama generally you have one that had been there a while, and one that they did bring along right behind him. They don't have that luxury this year, so their whole starting backfield from the quarterback on will be new. The
Scarborough kid, he can be something special in Alabama.
Well, you know, it'll be curious to see just how well the great coaching over there, and Nick Saban will have them ready to play. But I think there'll be too much for the Trojans.
Well, Auburn's been anticipating this game for a long time. Yep. Sellout crowd at Jordan-Hare Stadium tomorrow night. And Auburn hosting number 2 Clemson, who came within a hair you chin of being the national champion last year.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. You can take this to the bank. The Tigers will win.
One of the two.
The Tigers will win. Seriously, Jim, Auburn, again, they got a new defensive coordinator, Kevin Steele. They starting White at quarterback. I don't know if he fits this type of offense that Auburn runs. Clemson, they're loaded. They got probably the Heisman Trophy winner will be at Clemson, that quarterback.
Watson's a real deal now.
He is a real deal. He showed Alabama just how good he was. But I tell you, I'm not too sure Auburn's ready for this type football game. I hate to go against my Auburn Tigers, and I will not. Auburn in an upset.
You've been at Auburn where it's a huge game, and playing at Jordan-Hare Stadium, that's a few points plus for the Tigers.
Well, it is, and the fans will be loud. The bands will be playing loud. And I talked to Nate Brewer the other day. He's a prognosticator. He told me that Auburn would win a football game. So, Nate, I hope you're right, buddy. I'm going with the Auburn Tigers.
He hopes he's right. And we've got other games, marquee matchups on Sunday. Texas and Notre Dame. That's in Austin, Texas, at Royal Texas Memorial Stadium, and Notre Dame has hit a few bumps in the road in the preseason.
Have they not? Charlie Strong, this would be a monumental game for him if he could pull this off. Notre Dame is Notre Dame. I think the jury's still out on them. They run a bunch of kids off, had a bunch of kids leave. They've been in a lot of trouble over there. That generally don't happen at that school. But they go into Austin, Texas to play the Texas Longhorns. So I really don't know, Jim. I think you could take a coin and flip it on this one. I think I'll go with the homestanding Texas Longhorns.
Charlie Strong, he may be one of those coaches on the hot seat himself.
Mm-hmm. He did a great job over at Vandy, and I'm telling you, wasn't it Vandy he was at?
I think so.
But he done a good job at Vanderbilt. But this is a different league than he's going to have to produce. Or the natives at the University of Texas, they want wins, and they want wins now, and they want wins in bunches. So you hope for Charlie Strong. He was a great defensive guy at Florida. I remember him well when he was down there. But he needs some wins at Notre Dame. Another big intersectional game with the Fighting Irish. I'm going to go with the Texas Longhorns at home, and I hope Charlie Strong can pull it off.
We close out Toots' Tips this morning, brought to you by the Huddle House, with a matchup on Labor Day. That's at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. Number 4, Florida State University, the Seminoles, take on number 11, Mississippi. Well,
Jimbo Fisher, the coach over at Florida State in Tallahassee, you got to go with them, Jim. That's all there are to it. They got a good football team. They just keep getting good recruits, especially out of the state of Florida. Ole Miss.
Now, this is a key game for Ole Miss if they can knock off Florida State.
That would shoot them up in the rankings. And I think, 2 more weeks they play Alabama? Mm-hmm. So, again, it would be a monumental step for them if they can beat Florida State. I got to go with the Seminoles at home.
All right.
Or in Orlando, rather.
Toots' Tips taking the Florida State Seminoles. We picked 10 games, and we'll see how Toots' Tips fares after the dust settles after a long Labor Day weekend. And got just a minute to touch on Alabama and Southern Cal and Auburn and Clemson. It's quite unusual. You see our 2 state universities, and of course Jack State with a big win last night, Samford a big win last night too. We don't want to underestimate that. But when you think about the 2 largest universities, I guess, in the state, and the most successful, and both playing major opponents this weekend.
Well, again, I think you got to credit the ADs and the people who set this up. And I think, Jim, and the reason it's done on Nick Saban, and I've heard him make this statement, it's a measuring stick. You'll find out how many times do you lose the first ball game and win a national championship? Not very often. So it's a good measuring stick both for Auburn and Alabama. The jury's out on Auburn. They've lost a bunch of kids. Alabama, due to graduation, lost a bunch of kids. But Nick Saban always seems to find somebody that can play quarterback and do well. Just step in and play. Again, I think Bateman will be your starter. How long he'll play, I don't know.
Is Malzahn under pressure to win this year?
Yes, I think so, Jim. They were in a bowl game last year, beat Memphis, I think, over in the Birmingham Bowl. But, that's at Auburn University. They're not used to this 7-6 6-6 and all this kind of stuff. They used to 9 and 10 win seasons, and the fan base there want to see that again. You know, they talking about the trees at Auburn, rolling them. So again, if they don't get to roll them trees very often, he may be gone.
All right, Toots' Tips brought to you by the Huddle House on Highway 280 in Sylacauga, owned and operated by Doug Norton. And Toots, appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next week for sure.
If something bad don't go wrong.
All right, more Daybreak right after this timeout.